Thank you, Vanessa. Firstly, I'd like to thank the organising committee for staging tonight's event and also acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we're meeting on and pay my respects to their elders. It's my great pleasure to be here with you this evening and to have the opportunity to talk to you about Sustainable Australia's climate, transport and housing policies. I'm also going to show that these policy challenges are in part symptoms of a much bigger problem facing us, and that is that we are not living sustainably. Sustainability is both about the numbers of people and how we consume resources. We are the only party to concurrently and holistically address both of these issues. Australia currently has the highest rate of population growth in the Western world at about 1.5%. And this is being driven by many years of record high immigration intakes beginning under the Howard government. Under Howard, the intake was trebled from a long-term average of around 200,000, from 70,000, the long-term average, to over 200,000. It's a great irony that while governments were talking tough on border protection, they were also wading through millions of middle-class migrants arriving at our international airports. Sustainable Australia believes that this excessive level of middle-class immigration is linked to many of the problems facing us today. And a key party policy is to lower the overall annual immigration intake down from 200,000 back to the long-term average of 70,000. Sustainable Australia is pro-immigration, but advocates for lower immigration. It's a mistake to think that just because immigrants are good people, that the more we have, the better off we're going to be. We believe that immigration is one of those situations where you have a sweet spot. The population growth is too high. We have problems like congested roads and public transport, overcrowding in schools and hospitals, intractable unemployment, out of control housing affordability, and the continued destruction of our natural environment. This is exactly what's happening right now. We believe the sweet spot is a migration intake of around 70,000 people settling permanently in Australia every year, not 200,000. Now I'd like to relate our policy of lower immigration to the three given areas of housing, climate change and WestConnex. Sydney is growing by 1,700 people a week. It's no surprise that we can't build housing fast enough and the prices are out of control. Our policy of lower immigration will help to ensure that housing supply is able to catch up with demand and help people realise the great Australian dream of owning their own home. The years of 10% annual increase in house prices has been very damaging to the egalitarian fabric of Australian society. So we need to address the tax breaks that have distorted the market by ending negative gearing and capital gains tax concessions. We also support an end to foreign purchases of Australian residential property. Lowering immigration will also take the pressure off rents and allow renters to spend more of their income in other more productive areas of the economy. As for climate change, Sustainable Australia has a broad agenda, including adopting the Climate Change Authority recommendations of lowering greenhouse gas emissions by 20% on 2000 levels by 2020 and 80% by 2050. Our policies include a renewable energy target of at least 27% by 2020 and up to 100% by 2050. Funding research and development into renewable energy technologies, adopting a carbon pricing mechanism that does not unfairly penalise trade-exposed Australian industries, phasing out fossil fuel subsidies, and of course, lowering immigration to slow population growth. Australia is currently adding a city the size of Canberra every year, and if you think we can keep on doing that year after year and still halve our emissions, then I think you're being unrealistic. The fact is, last year emissions rose by 1.3%, around the same as population growth. Last year I spoke at a NorthConnex protest, and then I made the point that it's only a matter of time before I get invited to speak at protests about EastConnex northeast connects, southwest connects. You get the point? But when you try to squeeze 8 million people into a geographically constrained area, like the Sydney Basin, it's only a matter of time before the only way that you can solve your traffic nightmares is with very expensive tunnels. Clearly a lot of mistakes have been made with the WestConnex project, but I believe that our policy of investing in public transport and lower immigration is the only sustainable way forward. It's no surprise that the Coalition and Labor Party are both in favour of high immigration. They receive huge amounts of money from developers and big business, and they know that if they want those donations to continue, they need to run policies that are favourable to those businesses. The puzzling thing is why the Greens have said nothing about high immigration and the harmful effect that it's having on Australian society and our natural and built environments. Population growth multiplies all environmental impacts, not just per capita greenhouse gas emissions or the destruction of animal habitats. Quite a few people have asked me what's the difference between your party and the Greens. My answer is both. We are a centrist party, and that if you genuinely are concerned about the protection of our magnificent native flora and fauna, then you need to also have the courage to say that doubling our population is only going to make matters worse. Sustainable Australia is the only party with that courage. I'm asking Sydney voters to give me their number 1 vote on the 2nd of July as a way of sending a message to the D parties that they want to live in a city and a country and a world that is sustainable and provides a good quality of life to everyone while guaranteeing the protection of our wild areas where nature can flourish. The pursuit of high immigration and endless population growth has no place in a sustainable Australia and undermines our ability to implement effective housing, transport and climate policies. A sustainable Australia will be one that is better, not bigger. Thank you.